Welcome to Also Consider This, the podcast where we promote analytical, clearer thinking about life in Singapore and how we can improve it. I am the second most famous Alastair on the podcasting scene.
And my name is Feng.
So I'm going to dive straight into our topic of the day. What the heck is a Singaporean we first society? I mean, okay, let's just do the literature review first. Let's look at what people say first. All right. So in August 2025, our dear Prime Minister Lawrence Wong put up this idea of building a we first society in the National Day rally.
And it was his maiden NDR lah.
No, it's the second.
Oh yeah.
Everybody keeps thinking it's the first. Actually, it's the second.
Yeah, I kept thinking it was his maiden, yeah.
Yeah, because he got inaugurated like a few weeks before he got the first National Day rally, if you remember.
Yeah.
To put some of the quotes in, right? He said that to keep Singapore going, we must be a we first society. Because if everybody only thinks about me and puts me ahead of we, then we are finished. Oh, I got channeling the inner Lee Kuan Yew. Society will fray and things will fall apart. But if each person does his or her part by caring, contributing, and looking out for one another, then me will thrive and flourish too. Then when the whole is strong, each of us becomes stronger too. So apes together strong.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, but I mean the logic seems very sound when it first came out. I think it's broadly speaking an idea of thinking of the collective.
Yeah.
And then try not to be selfish and thinking about the fellow man, and so that life is better for everybody.
And for me, I felt it was like it kept repeating because when after the GE, then Parliament opened, then it was repeated again through the president's speech as well lah. During the opening of Parliament, he gave a speech as well. Then he said one key sentence that he talked about was that we will nurture a we first society at every level, starting in the community. And he added by saying that Singaporeans must put the collective before self, which is exactly what we were reiterating as well just now lah.
Yeah, and I think during that time in like the fourth quarter of last year, of 2025, people were still trying to paint a color or a shade of what we first is about. So because there's, as compared to many of the other governmental initiatives and messages, right? This didn't seem as clear-cut as they thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's like the vapes thing was very obvious.
Because it's a health hazard and
just cut the vapes. It's a killer, it's drugs, just cut the vapes. Whereas this one was not so apparent. It turns out to be like a vessel that you want, whatever you want it to be, you can make it what you want to be.
It's moldable to how they want the messaging to be like lah, in that sense.
Yes, and so like I found this commentary by Corina Lim, who is the executive director of Aware. Basically, she's the boss of Aware, the women's rights group. And in her letter to the Straits Times Forum, she basically started to point out other things in the We First Society that her organization is part of, or what they contribute towards. And it goes beyond just the individual level. It talks about how they as an organization help to support society, how they support victims of women's domestic abuse and other kind of violence that they face, right? And then there's civil society has its part to play. Then she also put a thing about government having a role to play. I would like to highlight what she wrote, what she signed off at the end. She said that, crucially, we first should never mean only one view. Respectful critique and alternative perspectives are part of caring for society. Wow, a bit daring,
Yeah.
pushing the political envelope a bit. Different voices are not a threat; they are an expression of collective responsibility. If we engage in good faith and listen across divides, policies will be stronger and trust deeper. So we first Singapore is an important aspiration. To realize it, we must embrace not only small acts of kindness, but also the diversity of perspectives that move us closer to justice.
Yeah, this was written, if I'm not wrong, this was like dated right after the NDR.
Just like 3 days after NDR.
Yeah, so to me, it felt like it was like part of the response from civil society to like the PM's call during NDR. There was kind of like a collective response in civil society to say that, yeah, it seems like what PM says yeah, it's valid, and we kind of also are trying to champion views like that.
Yeah, but of course, there's always, when the government puts out stuff like that, there's always, in Singapore, there's always a cynical view.
Yeah.
The cynical view is always about, like, just
Social engineering, yeah.
Government say government things, then they
Yeah.
start saying it's motherhood statements. They start
parental governance.
yeah, that kind of thing. Or they say that, or some people will use every opportunity that they have to say that it is about the government say one thing and do another thing, which I don't think is a very fair thing to say. They say, Singapore, they keep saying we first, but Singaporeans first, man. It's like all the foreigners first. Those same few people that love to argue that foreigners are the problems of everything.
Yeah, kind of.
There's also a sentiment, especially amongst the expat community, because or expat as well as migrant community, they're very worried about the phrase "we first." It shares the same word for America first.
A Trumpian idea in that sense.
Yeah, they associate this with a very insular way of thinking. Therefore, they start to worry whether is Singapore turning insular. Are we going to cut away foreigners? Are we going to start the thing where it's like us against them and kind of thing? Because a "we first" sounds like Singapore first. Various clarifications seem to push out a very different message. Just like the president's address. Because it was the National Day rally in August, then September was the
opening of parliament.
Opening of parliament. President Taman made the speech to sort of support the thing.
Yep.
Although actually the president's speech is written by the Prime Minister's government, it tried to allay some of the worries that we were trying to become insular. Because that's definitely not where we are going to be, or where we're trying to head towards.
And I think especially with the current climate that we are seeing around the world, where we see like a lot of countries are turning insular, I think DPM had to come out, kind of reassure the people outside of Singapore that the we first doesn't mean that we are against foreigners or we are turning insular in that sense.
Yes, and this is the reason why I wanted to raise this topic. Because in the forum with IPS, Institute of Policy Studies, in his opinion, his own personal opinion, the We First Society is not just a Singaporean thing. It's a thing about collective, and it doesn't, that collective is not Singaporean only. It's not a Singapore only thing. It can include foreigners living amongst us. And I think that created more conversation about this whole idea of a We First Society, because it starts to show even further, at least to me, it's more evidence that this idea of a We First Society is not clearly defined yet.
They haven't really gotten down to brainstorm or to even idealize what it actually means and how, that without even putting it towards what it is, it's also very hard for us to take steps to go towards it.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me, right? It feels like a political communication strategy that wasn't really strategized.
It was good soundbite, then yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a political communications idea that is not thought through as a strategy, because there isn't really a clear strategy. Every time about strategy, you're talking about let's focus on certain things, right? Or let's point our efforts in certain direction, right?
Or this direction will guide how our policies will be planned towards.
Exactly, direction, right? Forward Singapore as an exercise came out with certain directions.
Renewing the social compact, therefore we want to do this.
Yes, and therefore things like Skills Future, economic growth and planning and all these sort of things, ensuring education for all these renewing of the social compact is because you have a strategy involved, right? But this, to me, seems like there's a political communications idea, but no political communication strategy. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because it, in a way, it allows podcasters like us to start talking about it. It gives us space to talk. If not, we've got nothing to talk about this week.
It just suddenly gave me this idea, that could it be that they themselves don't want to drive this per se, but they want it to be a ground up thing. So it's it's asking the citizenry to kind of help define what it is.
I mean, it could well be, but normally when they want that to happen, they will open up drop boxes for people to leave comments, or they'll go to a shopping mall and put up a wall for you to write some post-it notes and stick it on the wall, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like future Singapore, forward Singapore things. You know, you can write, oh, my SG100 is gonna be this, and you stick the thing on the wall, and then it will come some 3D animation or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it seems, that's why I keep thinking that it strikes me as very unusual for a PAP government to put this out and then not have a lot of follow up.
It seems as though there were speeches, there are talks about it. It has been mentioned multiple times through like their messaging. I mean, their political messaging has been quite consistent, but there hasn't been any concrete steps taken per se lah. Also, what I find strange also is that SG60 has come and passed, and we didn't kind of use that opportunity to like ride on that wave in that sense.
Yeah, because in fact, before this January IPS forum thing, right? I think some people kind of forgot about this We First idea already.
Yeah.
And then I think because a question brought up this point, and then DPM Gun had to sort of respond to it, and he put his own spin onto things. And I feel that, okay, it's although it is not something that the government sort of aggressively followed through. When I say aggressively followed through, the prime example will be the vape thing, right? It's like a whole of government effort. I start, SAF, go and find vapes, go and raid bunks for vapes. Police go and find vapes. PA, community centers have like
the drop bins,
yeah. And then HSA go this, and then even LTA has to say something. No vapes on the bus and that thing. Then if you are a Grab driver, the app will show you like, if you find a vape in the car, what do you do? It's like very. And then if you go to the lifts of a HDB flat, at the lift lobby at the ground floor, there's a TV screen. There's a
usually
public
that one's
message.
The PA. That's usually housed by the PA, or is it PA in charges of it.
Correct.
So they like all these ads seems to be like ready to go the moment where like NDR and the day after like our bus ads, everything was put up.
Yes, and that is what I mean by a full-on communication strategy, right? They started doing TV ads, they started doing all this sort of like ministers went on podcasts and all kind of thing. And there's this full-on strategy. But in this case, for the We First idea, it really kind of stayed as an idea. And I don't know about you, I feel that it is something that should be developed upon. What do you think?
Okay, it's a feel good statement. The speech, like We First, it sounds nice. It's a good soundbite. There's also kind of a feel good factor. Not forgetting that last year's NDR was also catching the tails of SG60. It was a. I would say that it was one of the best parades for a long while. I think it really celebrated what it meant to be Singaporean. So I don't know whether it was like riding on the coattails of that and then he wrote the NDR speech. It could well be, but then it just feels a bit weird. Like, yeah, we say we want to do this, but there's no like, so then what? Like, what are we supposed to do with this We First idea? Are we going to engage more on civil society? Then, but there also hasn't been much movement from like, we didn't really hear like civil society like coming out to say that, government engaged us to talk about this thing and
because there's no nudging from the government side. But I feel that there's an opportunity here.
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity for us, if we really care about it, and I think we should care about it, that people should actively put in their own causes and shape this whole idea of a We First society. I feel that it is actually a very good tagline that can shape how we view civics and morals. How do we take care of each other? How do we give in or give way or share with others? And it doesn't have to be necessarily like the very sometimes performative, sometimes organized way of doing things. Sometimes it's just a matter of like letting the person with the wheelchair have more time to get on the bus. Things like that. I think that is the thing that we should strive towards. There are other mature societies that have that perspective on societal life, and I think it's something that we should aspire to work towards. And I don't think it's necessarily a compulsory thing to have a very clear, defined, these are the lines of what a free first society are. And that is a very un-Singaporean thing because everything in Singapore is
Orderly.
we draw a grid and then you fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Sign within the box.
Must meet KPI.
Yeah, you must meet the KPI and you must sign within the box.
Yeah.
If you don't sign within the box, right, you go and sign extra.
Yeah.
Right? I feel that it's an opportunity for people to make their views known. And sometimes there may be a bit of debate necessary. There may be a bit of sharing or airing of differences necessary. And so long it's done in a civil way, in good faith, I think that's something that we should look forward towards. Yeah, and make it as a part of our society. Yeah.
But then the main obstacle that we kept going to is that sometimes we kind of see what's actually happening in Singapore. It seems as though we are really, really quite far away from this whole like we first idea. It seems like a very grand idea because there are so many symptoms in society that makes you feel like actually we are so much far from it.
Yeah, I agree. So the protagonist idea, the promotional idea is we first society. But the antagonistic idea against that, right, is a Sinkie-Pwn-Sinkie mentality. That is my opinion.
Yeah. Maybe let's iterate what it means by Sinkie-Pwn-Sinkie for those who don't really understand it.
Okay. You go with your explanation. I have something, but you go with yours first.
Yeah. So Sinkie-Pwn-Sinkie, at least to me, how I see it is that we don't seem to want to wish the best for our fellow Singaporeans. When we see somebody fail or somebody fall, it seems like, okay lah. Yeah lor, you didn't do this, you didn't try your best, and therefore, yeah lah.
Or you dug your own grave, therefore you should lay in it.
Correct. Like personal responsibility to the max, that kind. In that sense.
Or using personal responsibility as a thing to beat the person who's down.
Yeah. I think that's better lah. You phrase it better than me.
Like leopard crawling towards someone who's done wrong in their life. Like who make mistakes in their life, right? You leopard crawl towards them trying to like collect more evidence of their wrongdoing. I mean, yes, one such example, right? Like this whole fury over the property Lim Brothers scandal about, and like there are some comments that you have seen. I have seen some very very crude comments.
Some of it is really uncalled for and not very tasteful in that sense lah.
Yeah, the point is also like the real victims are actually the families.
The families, yeah.
The other spouses were not involved in it, and the families that sort of probably the last to hear of it. Yeah, I mean, okay, but the point of this podcast is not really to delve into the details of this thing. To me, it's a symptom of knocking people when they're down.
Yeah, it's like when scandals happen locally, we kind of want the full expose of everything, and then everybody just feed on this whole furor over all these things.
Yes, to some degree, a joke and a laugh I feel it's fair game to some point.
Okay,
it's just how far along you go, lor. It's just how far along do you push it. Some people have said that this has driven internet traffic in Singapore for a whole week, and of course, this is also, mind you, this happened in the week, right, where the news cycle is all about how do we transform our economy. There were hours and hours of like press conference interviews and all that with Gan Kim Yong, with Jeffrey Seow, with David Neo about all these like economic strategy things and all the task force
but
things.
Yet
right?
Most Singaporeans couldn't care less.
Most Singaporeans like to see other people leopard crawl. I don't know, there are better things to talk about lah.
Yeah.
But okay, going back to the original point, right? I found this. So in December, I saw this and it really struck a chord with me. So it's this guy on Instagram threads, right? His handle is Felix Lee ZD, about his idea of what
Sinkie-Pwn-Sinkie means.
Yes, yeah. I shall not bore you with like a whole readout. You can go read it. I'll put it on the comments in the descriptions. Is basically he says that we have Sinkie-Pwn-Sinkie, the uniquely Singaporean phenomenon where tearing down a fellow citizen brings more satisfaction than building someone else up. Right? I think some people may not admit to it, but some of the illustrations that he put out is, I think, very poignant.
And it hits very, very close to home for a lot of people.
Yes. So he cites an example, right? Indians hire Indians. So therefore, some people say, well, you hire one Indian in this department, the whole whole department becomes Indian, right? Chinese nationals protect Chinese nationals. Filipinos open doors, share rooms, split bills, recommend each other for jobs they themselves wanted. There's an unspoken code amongst diaspora worldwide. We are far from home, so we look out for our own, right? But Singaporeans don't. Okay, and he cites that basically there's this. I try and summarize it. Basically, it's this mindset of zero-sum game. It's like if
my win has to be your loss.
yes, and then it starts from even school. Like my rejection letter, my place in this school is your rejection letter
Yeah.
for this school, right?
Yes.
So if I win, you lose. So therefore, when you translate it into a workplace, it's like you sabotage your local subordinate. Because because if you don't get opportunity, I get opportunity. Right? If my department gets a higher share of the quota of promotions in this organization, your department suffers for it because there's only so many places to go around. And I think it's part of it. Like, and then he also cited things like the circuit breaker, right? SG COVIDiots. Basically, everybody starts to snitch each other.
Yeah.
And we don't need, as you said before, we don't need a Gestapo. People already form their own secret police already.
Because to me, it feels as though, like, for lack of a better word, the most disgusting side of Singapore, I don't think it's really just the act of like people behaving badly, but it's like the desire to wish downfall on people who may not necessarily do something that you feel is acceptable. I mean, case in point was like Stomp, right? People might enjoy going onto the site sometimes for comic relief or whatever, but some of the posts that people go on it for or they send it in for seems to be really, really not the nicest thing. Like, instead of stomping another person, you can basically just tell the person, don't do that lah. Instead of like, I take out my phone, I must video you, then I show the town council, I call the police, then I got evidence. But it could have easily just been a simple conversation and talking to the other person and say, I don't think you should be doing that. Or like, if we see people on the trains, we see a NS boy not giving up his seat, instead of stomping him, maybe you can ask him like, there's an uncle who really needs the seat. Can you just give it up for this uncle? Then maybe the guy is like, oh, actually, I'm not feeling very well. You know, you start a conversation and you engage other people rather than like, I just want to be my bubble. So like,
passive aggressively sort of attack this person on the internet lah.
Yeah.
Back to the neighborhood Telegram chat, right?
Yeah.
The complaint channel of my HDB blog, right? It's really that, right? Is somebody not bothering to just knock on the door on the neighbor and say, hey, just turn it down a little bit, can or not? You know, and that would have been totally fine. But no, they have to like passively, aggressively start to like ask stupid things. And then like, please, this floor, can you please throw your dustbin properly? Things like that. I think
it's like being passive aggressive is like a uniquely Singaporean thing, it seems.
I don't think it's uniquely Singaporean, but it's definitely very Singaporean.
Yeah.
There's this thing about like vigilanteism. And although Stomp, by the way, when we think about Stomp, right? All these negative news, people snitching on each other.
Yeah.
But the heyday of Stomp is very long ago already.
2000.
It's like the noughties, like 08, 9, 10.
Yeah.
Those were the era because that was the time when like Facebook was just on the up.
Yeah.
And it's not even caught on yet. Like most people will consider like 2012, 13, 14 onwards to be the time where social media started to mature. And that's when all your doxing, all the terms like doxing and stuff like that started to appear, right?
Yeah.
Stomp's heyday before that, right, was well before that, but people still use the word stomping because it is so ingrained into the vernacular. Even if you're just posting it on Facebook, right, you're just
I'm stomping someone, yeah.
Yeah, it's just very far away from what we see as a we-first society. It seems like every day we get more and more examples of a Sinkie-Pwn-Sinkie society.
Yeah.
Like just a classic case. You go onto SG Road Vigilante and then you see a car cut another car and then they start to argy-bargy and start to like try and cut each other off or start to slow down each other and that kind of funny thing, right? But in reality, isn't it better sometimes to just give way to a bus of 40 people? Like if you drive a car and there's a bus of 40 people ahead of you, isn't it better for the collective good to sometimes give way to a bus? I'm not asking you to give way to the entire bus stop of 6 buses, but let one bus out. It's not that difficult, is it?
Yeah, and I remember very, very long time ago when kindness movement was really like front and center in Singapore, where I remember there was like an ad or something like that where it's like, oh, driver give way, then the other person give way, then the person just give a wave and then smile at each other. We are so far from that right now. It's like everybody is like, I just want my way. That kind of mindset that it becomes really unpalatable to even just be in public spaces nowadays.
Yeah, that's why people don't want. There are people who say they don't want to drive because they don't want to drive because they say that other people will never give way to them. And then they'll find weird ways to try and get people to give way to them, like keeping the P plate on the car, thinking that people will give way to them because they see a learner driver and they'll give them a sympathy vote and let them enter the lane. Things like that. But I would also like to push back a little bit. I feel that this is partly because of the ubiquity of lenses on phones. It's probably more just as frequent as it was 20 years, 30 years ago, pre-phone camera. But it's just because
you can simply just take out your phone and capture footage evidence.
Yes, exactly. So therefore you have the weaponry to do it. You have the access to snitch on someone. The technology did not make us this way. It highlighted we are this way. It's just a reflection of how good
the true Singapore self.
How good or how poor we are is reflected in the technology that we use.
Which was what I remembered. I've forgotten the exact word, but I remembered it in Chinese where it said 丑陋的新加坡人. I don't know whether it was Tommy Cole or is it someone else who said certain things along this line that like the Singaporeans sometimes can be really, really very like
ugly, right?
Ugly.
But this is not something that is in the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, it was really long. It was like late 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, those were like newspaper articles.
Yes, like a forum letter or like somebody wrote it like a public figure.
Don't imagine us as young kids reading newspapers. It's not about 10-year-old you and me taking out the Straits Times or the Taobao to read.
Yeah.
It's because it's taught in school also. It's like I think you probably remember some language lessons, either Chinese lessons or English lessons, where the topic of conversation is about how ugly are Singaporeans.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to use it as a civics and moral education point of view.
We talked about like, we say like, give an example of what it means to be not doing a socially acceptable act. Then we say like, throwing rubbish from high ground, or like when you're staying in the flat, then from high ground you just throw litter. Then we gave all these examples, but
littering on the streets when you're traveling overseas, things like that. These are not exactly new also.
Yeah. And
I think it's just, that's why I say that the tech has exposed us rather than made us this way. But I feel that there is, if it's able to show us what we are and in a very stark manner, like expose us, this is I think a very appropriate use of the word expose, where we are, then isn't it also an opportunity for us to fix things, step by step? And in this case, isn't the
call to we first like a
isn't a call to build a society we want, right? A we first society, or otherwise, starting from me, like from us, like you and me. Like if I always have the hope that if when I drive and I give way to somebody, I hope somebody else can see it and give way as well. If somebody gives way to me and I flash the hazards twice, Japanese style, to say thank you for giving way to me, isn't that a way to show that there are people around like that? And because you're not the only person being gracious and giving way or showing a bit of kindness and things like that, isn't that enough of an encouragement to say that you are not the only one doing it? There's more than one. It's just that there's not enough. But if more people do the good thing, or what I feel is the kind thing for everyone, for the greater good, if I can show it and another person is showing it, isn't it encouragement for more people to do it too?
It's like the concept of paying it forward in that sense.
Yes. Let me give you a positive spin.
Mm.
Many years ago, I think about the last 5-10 years ago, people started sharing this idea of the hazard light. I told you what I just said, right?
Yeah.
If someone gives way to you, you on the hazard lights, you do the tag twice just to say thank you to the car behind for giving way, right? It's a very Japanese thing or European thing. Someone gives way to you, say thank you that way. And also the manner of the signal for giving way is I flash the headlights twice. So I flash, which means that faster come in, quickly come in, I give way to you. And buses are very aware of this. Bus drivers are very aware of this because buses are always trying to get out of bus bays, right? And the thing is that, frankly, I feel as a driver, you're not a driver, so I'll say it. As a driver, I feel that this is getting more and more common. Generally, we are still quite horrible as drivers.
Yeah.
We are still quite selfish as drivers, but it's happening more. And I feel that it's just taking time to grow. And to me, this is a sign of like, hey, if we want a society that is for us all, the we first society for all of us, then it is for all of us to show it. And my thought about going back to what TPM Gun said about it can include foreigners, right? I don't think he's thinking about it in terms of policy, like, policy must include everybody, including foreigners. Like CDC vouchers for foreigners. No, I don't think that's what he's letting on to. I'm just thinking on the more humanist sense of like, we should all be like civic minded. Because you also don't want to have someone who is wealthy, very talented, come to our society to work here from somewhere else, but it's a total dickhead.
Yeah.
And we've seen cases like that before.
I mean, we have seen it on like, I mean, there was the diplomat that I think caused an accident and stuff like that.
Killed somebody,
yeah.
Then there's also the one where this foreign expat basically verbally abused the security guy and saying that his job is worth nothing because he's lowly paid.
And there were also cases, I mean, we can rattle off there were cases of like expats getting drunk, then they abused like taxi drivers. That's not just an isolated case.
Yes. Recently there was a foreign lady who literally tight slapped across the face of a Grab driver because he stopped at the place that is like 50 meters away from where she was standing. I think that's probably where he's leading on to. Like, it's actually quite simple, right? But it's also something that needs to be reminded. Like, it's just being kind, being thoughtful of another person, things like that. And I feel that one such society that does very well for this is the Japanese society. Like, they really teach all these like how to live in society lessons as classroom lessons. They have a very strong emphasis on this in their schools. It's part of if you go look at documentaries or like you go search for YouTube, right? Civics lessons in Japan are serious things. And that's the reason why, or the Japanese, we always always praise the Japanese for being very civic minded, right? Things like going to a stadium and cleaning up after yourself. So if you go to any World Cup match where Japan is playing, the stadium is clean, right? Giving way on the roads, giving people space in the trains and things like that. Like letting people who need seats on the train have seats and
not talking loudly and things like that.
Not talking loudly, all that sort of thing, because like there's this civic mindedness involved. Of course, they have their another set of problems of their own. People think about others so much that they start to stress themselves out. But I think we know what we're talking about here, right? There's a moderate level of like just thinking of the fellow citizen or just somebody within your vicinity. I think that matters.
It's to dial down the cynicism a little bit, personally. Like, because sometimes when we see certain kind acts, or we see like certain acts or influencers or social media or whatever that's happening, it's like, so the person real or not?
Virtual signaling.
Yeah, virtual signaling, that kind of thing. Then like, just take it as what it is. Like, okay, the person is doing a good act, then let's not read too much into it. not everything has to be like there's a hidden agenda kind of thing.
You have to cast aspersions all the time.
Yeah, and because of that, it also lightens the burden on ourselves when we really want to go and do certain things that we don't then also think that other people may see us in that way, because it goes both ways, right? Like, because you see that other people could be virtuous in you feel that sometimes you want to do a good act, you want to help someone on the street, or you want to, let's say for example, you want to buy someone's a coffee, right?
You paying it forward in the hawker store kind.
A hawker store kind of thing, you might think that like, what will people think, or like the person what would the next person think? Like, sometimes we don't have to be so complicated. We don't have to be so sophisticated until we cannot do just a simple act.
Because since the mid-2000s, there's one phrase that has always caught on. It's called "be a man,
do the right thing."
It's very straightforward. There is this idea of scarcity. This scarcity in Singapore is very real. There's only like, for amongst the citizenry, there's about 3-4 million people. Schools have only so many places.
Top schools even rarer.
Even though they're bigger. Job opportunities sometimes are hard to come by. This also means that there's more competition for us. We are squeezing out. We are also getting squeezed. Right? It's like your family, it's not just your kids getting squeezed for school places. The working adults are also getting squeezed for workplaces.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? Because this scarcity mindset is very, very hard to get rid of. Because when you are squeezed so tightly, it's very hard to escape from this scarcity mindset. And this scarcity mindset, I feel, is something that creates a very negative view on life.
And it actually kind of feeds into each other, right? It becomes a negative feedback loop almost, because scarcity breeds like a scarcity mindset. Then you start to do less. Then you actually also experience.
Then you do less also.
Yeah.
Then you get less in return.
Yeah.
And then you start to feel all the negative emotions, and there's all the stresses of life start to compound on that.
Yeah.
In this negative spiral, this is where, like, where do we go with this? For us to want to have a more abundant mindset, first people have to want to see change within themselves. But the environmental change that can accelerate it, right? I'm going to put the very Singaporean way of putting it. The government needs to change also. Like something in the way our systems are set up perhaps has to start signaling that there's abundance. Like
not just a survivalist kind of mindset in that sense.
Yes, like for example, in the same press conferences and IPS forums that the task force ministers were involved in, when they say that, we will select Singaporean companies that we feel have potential and give them and support them in expanding beyond our shores, beyond Singapore.
Like Enterprise Singapore is going to do this.
Yes, right? There are things for that. But if you listen very carefully, right, we will select. Do we need to highlight the fact that we are selecting?
By nature of the process, it will be a selection process. But
the thing is that, can there be at least a base level for everybody? I'm not saying like raid the reserves and just throw money at the problem. There's no abundant money also.
Yeah.
But if you go beyond Singapore, there's abundant opportunity. It's the Chinese phrase, right? 东家不打打西家, right?
Yeah.
If you don't go to this place, you go to that place. If you go to that place, you go to that other place. Because we are always looking for opportunity that is like just within our reach. But what is beyond this buffet, right? Nobody knows.
We don't see ourselves up. Therefore, we don't dare to go and try. But at the same time, if the Singapore collective is strong and we don't adopt this Sinkie-Pwn-Sinkie kind of mentality, it's also to be each other's wingman in some sense. Like, we support somebody else who dares to go out and try. And I don't know, could it also be rooted in that, in the very 90s or early 2000s, that quitter versus stayer kind of mindset? That
I feel it's less of that. I feel it's more of, I give you a microcosm, right? You go to a hawker center. Does it mean that if stall A gets more business, then stall B gets less business.
Not necessary, because if I want to eat chicken rice but I'm in a rush and stall A has long queue, I'll just go and eat stall B lah.
Correct. But the thing is that very often, the mentality of a lot of people will assume that stall B is fighting with stall A. The Army Market Hawker Center, there used to be 2 prawn noodle stalls. Right? It got to the point where if you are sat at this table, you cannot consume this stall. You cannot, if you're sat at this table, you cannot consume that stall. They start to draw lines and all that kind of thing. And then they give you a dirty look if you took, even because the hawker center rules are that patrons can sit on any table, right?
Yeah.
So if you brought the stall, the bowl from one stall and sat in front of the other stall, they will give you a dirty look. The thing is, in reality, I agree with you. That's not how it works. If A has too large of a queue, I go to B. Go to Maxwell Food Center. How many chicken rice stalls are there at Maxwell Food Center?
Yeah, everybody is riding on the coattails of Tian Tian lah.
Yeah, everyone wants to eat the bourdain chicken rice, and then if they don't have the time or the bother to go and queue for it,
they're going to just get another stall.
Yeah, they go for another one that has some other white face on the photos in front of it lah.
Yeah,
that's what I mean by like, if we look beyond our shores, and this is actually a net export lah. Tourist expenditure in Singapore is an export because all the foreigners come in to spend and they leave the country. We are basically exporting our chicken rice locally in a sense.
Yeah,
we actually can see things beyond that zero-sum mindset lah. And I think we need to find ways to think beyond that. Yes, maybe schools have a zero-sum game because there's really only so many classrooms in the school. But I think we should not allow this to go outside of the school anymore. Yeah, there should be more to it.
Like, not all competitions are a zero-sum game in that sense.
Yes.
I think for me, one other thing that I would just like to add is that I think the language that we use sometimes, language goes a long way of how we talk about certain things. And if we don't use the vocabulary of a zero-sum game, then I think it also kind of starts this whole idea that, we are not just here out to kill each other. We are not combative in that sense.
There are no dead ends in that sense.
Yeah.
There are ways out. There are other opportunities out there. Abundant mindset. Seek opportunities and also take care of each other along the way and just be kind to each other.
Yep.
And whatever small things that you do that contribute to it, I think all more power to you.
Yeah.
And I also encourage you to do the same for everybody else.
Yeah.
So for the closing segment, today I learned. What have you learned today?
So I think as we are recording this episode, Chinese New Year is coming. So a lot of people go and buy new clothes and new shoes, right? So this thing came to my mind because I was trying on a new pair of shoes. Then as I paid for it and I tried it on, it still felt a bit, the heel part feels a bit weird, right? So it got me thinking, like, why do shoes bite your heels? The blister they get.
That you need to put a plaster to protect your heel from.
And then the more curious thing is that, but if you actually take out the shoe and you feel the material, it's soft, then why actually it causes blister, right? So there are actually a few things that you are...
Isn't it the reason why you have a blister is because it rubs against your heel?
Yeah, it rubs, but why lah? So it's like... So 5 things actually. So the first thing is that even though the material is soft, it doesn't mean that it's flexible in the right direction. So even though you can feel it's soft, but then the heel part can actually be stiff because it's new, right?
It's stiffer so that it can be erect.
Yeah, so it's like you look at a new shoe, when you season your shoe, the thing feels like it's kind of rounded off. So that's the thing. And then another thing that you might not realize is that your heel actually moves more than you think when you're actually walking. So the heel actually, if you actually look at the biomechanics of the human body, right, your heel actually lifts slightly off the shoe doesn't actually stick to your heel kind of thing.
There is always a thing. It's always a challenge to design a shoe where the heel sort of
it doesn't slip. Yeah,
grips the ankle.
It will slip slightly no matter how well fitted it is, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, it causes this shear force that actually kind of damages the skin over time. And then, of course, that even though the material can be soft, but because it's a new thing that comes out of the box, right? It is still the stitches, everything is not seasoned, so it's still very sharp. It's not just stiff, but it's like it can be quite sharp. So because of that, it kind of acts as like a file against your skin. So therefore, you're like tap 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 tap. You keep rubbing against it. Therefore, it's like you will have that blister lah. And the fourth point is that your skin isn't conditioned to that shoe. You know, when you wear for a few times, and after that, it seems like the thing goes away. Yeah, your skin kind of needs to get used to the shoe also.
To the material, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the fifth part, and especially so in Singapore, is that heat and moisture kind of makes everything just worse. Especially Singapore, because you wear shoe, you wear socks most of the time. And then because it's so humid, you perspire, you don't actually notice that actually that's why your socks kind of stink at the end of the day, because you're actually perspiring, and then all these things doesn't really help because it adds on to that friction thing, and then all these blisters will start happening.
So it's further evidence that Singapore is inhospitable.
I wouldn't say that, but
but I've heard about this thing of like I've heard of people wearing like CADs shoes.
CAD?
KEDS shoes.
Oh, CADs. Yeah.
Like the material, the canvas material is like some people get allergic rashes out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like not unusual to hear of like
especially
materials causing problems.
Especially if you're buying like a pair of leather shoes, it's like one of the worst thing that you can ever feel.
Yeah, but once it's seasoned, it's like they suit you very well and all that. Yeah. And there are cobblers that say that if they receive a pair of shoes, they can actually diagnose the walking characteristics of the person because they see the wear pattern on the shoe. They can sort of guess does this person walk flat foot, or this person walk with his toe pointing out or pointing in and things like that.
Yeah. So your shoes bite your heel because it's a combination of like biomechanics, material science, and a little bit of biology.
Okay. So today I learned this is a piece of news.
Yeah.
Did you know that recently Sony have stopped the production of Blu-ray blanks?
So does it mean that I don't have new PS5 games?
No, that means your Blu-ray burner discs.
Oh, okay.
The blank media is no longer being sold.
Right.
No longer being sold. They will stop production by February 2025.
I did not know. 26.
26. I don't know. Let me see. 25. They
already stopped it.
Yeah, February 2025. So they already stopped making blank Blu-ray discs. It doesn't mean that it's totally gone. There are still manufacturers for Blu-ray blanks out there. It's just that Sony is no longer making it in-house. Yeah. They also stopped making mini discs and mini DV tapes.
No, our beloved mini discs that we grew up with us. Yeah,
we never used for like the last 20 years, but it's just that these are not extinct yet because one, they're still old stocks, and manufacturers like Verbatim and Panasonic still make those blank media. Yeah. So please, start backing up stuff. Yeah. So okay, one ask from us from this week. Please subscribe. Just please subscribe.
If you are watching it and you have not subscribed yet, please just subscribe to us.
Okay. We do our best, right? We promise that we will do our best and put more and as regularly as possible. We are sticking to a Monday release schedule. We will do our best to put it out every Monday, despite all the other things we have in life, right? Please support us with just click on the subscribe. And
if you can like it as well, that will be great.
Yes, but we will do our best to continue pushing out. And as you can probably see, that we are also actively reviewing and sort of looking back at what we've done before, trying to analyze what works, what doesn't work, what kind of pivots we need to make. We've always been trying to make this better. And every click on the subscribe button matters to us. Thank you for giving your attention to us all the way to this point. And just one more ask, just click that subscribe button.
Yeah.
And we will promise to do our best to give you more and more. Yeah. And of course, our aspiration is to find guests. I think it's a bit of a thing where we don't feel confident enough to ask guests to join us because, one, we still feel that we want to improve our podcasting abilities.
Yeah, we still need to iterate a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we have improved our podcasting skill over time, but at the same time, it's a bit sad to have only like
2 people.
yeah, no, it's a bit sad to have the number of subscribers, but some people expect more.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for all the subscribers we already have.
Yeah.
But please, if you are not a subscriber yet, please and then just join that number, help us out so that we have wish lists of guests. Just help us out here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we will see you next week.
Bye. Video.
Every week I do this, I keep thinking to myself, should we just buy a clapboard?
I put it on the cart on AliExpress, but I didn't check out.
And I want to redo this again because I think I cocked it
Yeah,
up.
you cocked it up.